Hi, welcome back. If you don't know who I am, my name is Anya and I'm a graphic designer who's also a content creator who's documenting my journey to become a freelancer on my YouTube channel. I'm going to cut to the chase. You clicked on this video because you want to know everything you need to become a designer, all the resources, and I'm here to give it to you. I'm going to explain everything that I use, as well as budget-friendly and free resources that you can use instead. If you want to skip to a specific part, these are the timestamps where I explain each type of resource that you may need to become a designer. When it comes to design, or pretty much anything that requires software or technology, there's this glorification of the best equipment to use. The more expensive it is, the better designer that you'll become, etc. And I really don't find that to be true. I think there are plenty of free resources out there and also very simple setups. I think you might be surprised with how simple my setup is. Of course, it can be better, but you don't need a lot to start off with. And I want that to be the main takeaway of this video. Beginning with technology, I only use two main, or I guess like 2.5, you'll see what I mean, things. And that is my MacBook, which I can't show right now because I'm using it, like my microphone is hooked up to my MacBook. I have the MacBook Air 13-inch from the model, I believe it's 2021. It's perfectly capable to handle all the softwares that I use. For the future, I really would like to get a monitor so that I can have a bigger screen to look at. I'm thinking of getting that pretty soon, but honestly, I'm pretty happy with just having my MacBook, and I think the MacBook Air is pretty powerful. And on top of that, I think this is the iPad Pro 2020. And then of course the Apple Pen. That's what I meant with the 2.5. Like this thing is a lifesaver. I use this for all the illustrations in my designs, even in my YouTube thumbnails. This thing will always be in use. Essentially, it's like having a second computer. I use it to draw. I use it for inspiration. I have Pinterest loaded up on here. It's so nice. I also use it as like a second screen. I link it to my MacBook and I have two screens going at the same time. So that's a really nice thing to have if you have two Apple products, and I'm sure Android maybe has something similar as well. And I love that I can just directly draw on this thing and just like move it around my Apple Pen. Totally worth it in my opinion. This might come off as a surprise, but I actually don't like to use like a computer mouse. But I think I will get one in the future. Probably going to be something I'll end up having, and having an external keyboard and a monitor, but that's for later. So yes, the budget-friendly version would just be getting a laptop. You can get it secondhand. Just any laptop that works for you, is affordable to you, and just make sure that the GPU is strong enough to be able to process and render the graphics that you're going to use to design. I totally forgot to mention the budget version of the iPad. I used the Wacom tablet for 5 years, and they can range from $35 to $200 that you can hook up to your computer. There are free apps that you can use, such as Fire Alpaca and Krita. This whole trend of like having very aesthetic setup and all the best designers out there have the biggest setup, and no, that's not true. I've actually seen quite a few designers on the internet that have a pretty simple setup like me right now, and it's enough and it does the job, and I think that's all you need. Another thing, I love working outside of my room as well, work in other environments because it really helps me as a designer and helps me stay focused. I have a really great carrier that turns into a laptop stand. This MOFT laptop carry sleeve is both a protective sleeve and an origami style built-in stand that offers dual angles of 15 and 25 degrees. It can hold your laptop charger, and business card inside. The material is very durable and smooth to the touch, and I really resonate with the overall simplicity of the sleeve. It's so useful to have something that is multifunctional and can be easily used outside of your home. On top of that, I always write that I use my iPhone to shoot my YouTube videos like this one, and the MOFT Invisible Phone Tripod Stand is wonderful as it snaps right onto the back of my iPhone whenever I'm in need of shooting a video. There are multiple positions that are easy to adjust to, in which the phone floats in a vertical and horizontal position and standing position mode. This is ideal for content creators like myself so that I can film a reel or video easily with a tripod that snaps right back onto place on the back of my iPhone. Click the link below in the description box to get your hands on the MOFT Invisible Phone Tripod Stand or the laptop carry sleeve now. I just want to say this was my very first brand partnership on this channel, and I'm very excited to partner with MOFT. Thank you so much to MOFT. Software. On my iPad, I have Procreate. I have to say, I love Procreate so much. I am such a fan. When it comes to softwares, it's very common to see subscription-based models. Procreate, you only pay the app once and it's yours forever. And I love that so much. I think it's so worth paying the $15 or euros that it's worth, that it's priced at. I use it for everything. I use it for my YouTube videos. I use it for my inspiration, for note taking, for my designs. Everything that's drawn is through Procreate. I do it myself using an Apple Pen, of course. So I highly recommend Procreate. I think it honestly is quite budget friendly and you only have to pay it once. So there's no monthly fees or hidden fees. It's all you get and it's perfect. It's one of the most frequently used programs, I have to say, especially for illustrators as well, because it is a drawing app and you can also animate on it. It's not my expertise, but it's super cool feature. And on top of that, of course, I have the Adobe subscription. I think it's pretty standard as a designer to have this subscription. So I have the Creative Cloud subscription, which gives me access to all the Adobe apps. So I do use Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro for my YouTube videos, anything else that I might need. It also gives me access to Adobe fonts, which I can use for free use and download any font that I might like from their library. It also gives me access to their templates and mockups as well. So I think it's genuinely worth it. However, I totally understand that it's quite expensive because there is a monthly fee. I do have free alternative options. So I highly, highly recommend, if you aspire to be a designer, get into Figma. Figma is amazing. Figma is industry standard software that is free to use and it's essentially everything that you need. It's kind of like a mash of InDesign, Illustrator kind of, and Photoshop, but simplified into one. And not only that, it's also great for UX and UI designers because you can prototype websites or apps and screens. So it's a wonderful, powerful app. I love that it's free. It does have paid plans, so there might be limitations, but I definitely use Figma for my social media accounts, anything that I need to quickly put together. It's so worth it to learn it. I highly recommend that you go into it. I think a lot of the jobs actually require for you to know how to use Figma. Like I said, it is industry standard, so I think it's worth checking out. And also, of course, Canva. I did express my opinions about Canva before. However, I do understand that it's very budget friendly because it's free, of course. And if you're aspiring to be a designer but really can't afford to get Adobe subscription or you just don't want to pay for that, which is totally fine, Canva is a great source, free for everyone to use, and it has wonderful templates that you can work from and build your design skills and experiment. So Canva is a great option actually for a lot of people. I like to use it myself for, if I have to make a fast design, Canva's great, especially for presentations as well. And then last but not least, I use Notion for pretty much everything, not only just for design. I use it to organize my life. I use it to make a social media planner and content creation planner. I use it for my videos. I'm using it right now. It's free, entirely free for use, and I think it's amazing. And I think it's also really worth using. A lot of designers and freelancers will actually use Notion to send it externally to their clients so that the clients can fill out a form or questionnaire so that the designer or the freelancer can get a better understanding of the client that they're working with. And Notion is like essentially Google Docs, but like more personalized. You can customize the layout of the page, whereas Google Docs is just a little bit more rigid. The dreaded fonts. I struggle with this. I really do. I always try to grow my library, but I'm now getting into the groove where I'm like pretty happy with my library on my computer. I was kind of lost a little bit, especially in the beginning of my design journey and starting a social media. I was like looking at all these beautiful designs from other designers. I'm like, where do they get their fonts? Designers, don't come at me. I really mean typefaces. I know typefaces is the proper way of saying fonts, but just for the sake of this video, typefaces is such a long word. I'm gonna say font, so it's gonna be font. I also feel like people just don't want to share sometimes. That's not always true. There are wonderful designers out there that always share where they get their fonts. I never want to be that person that gatekeeps. So these are all the resources that I get. I mentioned Adobe fonts. So this one is a great way of getting your font library. I'm also subscribed to Envato Elements. I paid the annual fee, which is about $150. I might be wrong, I'll have to double check. I know it sounds like a lot to some people, but I genuinely found so much worth from this subscription because I have access to their entire library of amazing, beautiful fonts. They're really beautiful, I have to say. Not only that, I also have access to templates, video footage, stock photos. I have it all just from this one subscription. So I definitely think it's worth it, especially as a content creator. If you're aspiring to be a content creator, I highly recommend Envato Elements because it also will help you in your design career. And then there's also Creative Market. I don't personally use this. However, I do find that their fonts are quite inspiring. So I take a look in there for inspiration as well. And of course, the free resources. This I love. I love hearing free resources, okay? Especially when it comes to typefaces and fonts. I use Awards with 3 W's. They are pretty regular in like updating their fonts and the trends in graphic design. And they also do publish articles where they list a bunch of free fonts that are available for free use. So it's super useful. It's super nice. I go in there all the time just to check the next trendy font. There's also Font Pair, Font Squirrel, Google Fonts, which is great. They have classic typefaces in there. Custom fonts and my fonts, I'm going to link it in the description below. Please feel free to take a look and look for yourself and download your favorite fonts and just make a beautiful font library right on your laptop. Mockups. As a designer, mockups is just so hard to find. Like, I really struggle with this. A lot of designers can use the same mockup. So when you upload your work, you're using the same mockup as everyone else. And then it becomes kind of, not that it's a bad thing, it's just, it doesn't look as high effort. Like it diminishes the amount of effort that you put into your design somehow when you see that everyone else is using the same mockup. So I definitely like to diversify mockups. Here are just a few that I really like. Produce beautiful mockups, go support them. But there's also free mockups. Here's a whole list, and I'm going to link them in the description below, that are for free, so you can download free mockups. And when it comes to mockups that are downloaded for free, I highly recommend that you take a further step to customize the free mockup so that it's not the same as everyone else's, changing the background of the mockup or just the positioning of the mockup or the lighting or whatever, the colors. Make it special so that it's not really like a copy and paste mockup that everyone else uses. That will really make your portfolio stand out. I have these mockups that I used here, and you can see how I really customized every mockup. These are all free mockups, by the way, from one of the websites that I just mentioned. Take the extra step to make a beautiful mockup and customize it. It really just gives that wow factor. Now it's media. And what I mean by media, it's talking about the inspiration that you get as a designer, but also the media, the social media. Might be a hard pill to swallow for some, but the reality is if you want to work for yourself and you want to become a designer, you have to market yourself. You have to put yourself out there. So you need to use resources to be able to set up a business and also be able to be discoverable by potential clients so that they can reach out to you, and then there's a smooth process flow. So I do have some resources that I collected and that I trust that you can use as well and be helpful to you. But before we talk about that, I just really quickly want to mention design books. Design books. Listen, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is a great free resource that I use. However, the value in design books I think is so much better because you get exposed to all these kinds of designers out there in the world. I have a whole collection of books that I started to collect. There's something about having like a tangible thing in your hand that gets you really inspired. I think it does make a difference. I also like to bookmark all my favorite designs when I look through my design magazines, and it's also just so cool. Like, I love being able to have this right next to me, and if I'm ever needing some inspiration, it's right here. So I'm always looking to expand my bookshelf. And you know what? You can find some pretty affordable magazines. I also collect some magazines that aren't necessarily design related or like in the design industry. It's just magazines that I think layout and the graphic design of the magazine is super cool. And even having that is super inspiring. So just think about how you can expand outside of the computer and on the internet, and how you can collect inspiration in your own home or in your own room, so that when you come onto your setup, you sit down, you look at this book, you flip through, it's just like a breath of fresh air, honestly. Like I mentioned, Pinterest is one of the other resources for inspiration that's for free. And there's also Behance, which comes with your Adobe subscription. I do like to use Behance, but honestly, controversial take, I kind of prefer Pinterest. And I know people really villainize Pinterest. I personally don't have a problem with Pinterest, but that's my opinion. There's also the website Gumroad, and I do plan to use Gumroad at some point. Basically, this is where you can upload your digital products for people to download or purchase from you. It's a great way to make some income if you plan to make some digital products that you want to sell as a designer. So you can upload your prints on here, or your like digital prints, or wallpapers, whatever it is, stickers. Gumroad is free to use. And then there's Contra and Fiverr, which are also free resources where you can be hired from external clients, where you can set up your business and you can describe the services that you provide so that clients can come find you and hire you from these websites. These two websites, I think, in my opinion, are the most promising. I know that there's Upscale, but personally, I haven't really tried that out. If you know any more websites where you can set up your freelance business, let me know. I would love to know. And of course, last but not least, and I think the most obvious, Instagram and YouTube for me, and maybe TikTok, but personally, I don't know. I never really got into TikTok, but Instagram and YouTube is a wonderful, wonderful free way to put yourself out there, to document your journey, to have people discover you and network, and also upload your portfolio, and it's all entirely for free. I think it's a massive, powerful tool. It's clearly working for me, so I highly recommend that you try it out as well. Don't be afraid of putting your work out there. Your design needs to get the recognition it deserves. Your hard work deserves recognition, so upload your work on social media. You might be surprised. I sure have been surprised. Believe me, I am so grateful for every single one of you that's watching. It really gives me purpose as a designer, and I love to help and be as transparent as possible as well. That's it for my video. I hope that you enjoyed. I will see you next week. If you have any suggestions for anything that I missed out on, please comment below. I would love to read and learn from you, and I hope to see you in the next video.